The Conjuring universe has always loved dipping into its own mythology, and in 2018, it decided to push deeper into the origins of one of its most prominent presences, Valak. The nun promised a gothic dive into Romania, cloistered secrets, and the demon that haunted us in The Conjuring 2. But how does this spin-off hold up after the last few? What's up everyone, I'm Trap, I love movies, and today we're talking about The Nun, written again by Gary Dauberman and directed by Corin Hardy. I'll go over my pros and cons as well as my own personal rating, all spoiler free here, but if you've seen the movie, stick around to the very end. I'm gonna get into a spoiler chat where we can really pry this casket open. This one's set way before the Warrens ever even stepped into the picture, acting as a prequel to basically the entire franchise. It follows Father Burke and Sister Irene as they investigate a mysterious suicide at a remote monastery, and find something much older and darker waiting for them. It's a nun. Or is it? But let's get right into it. The good stuff. The Nun absolutely nails its atmosphere. The cinematography feels like a love letter to classic gothic horror. Wide shots of looming architecture and confined candlelit hallways that actually feel suffocating. The Abbey itself is the star here, and the movie knows it, and it milks it for everything it's got. The performances across the board are solid. Thaisa Farmiga brings a quiet vulnerability to Sister Irene, and she's one of the more emotionally grounded elements of the film. Father Burke is a man clearly carrying the burdens of previous failures, and when the film slows down enough to explore their internal conflicts, it works. There are also a handful of set pieces that show real creativity, particularly in how Valak controls the environment. These moments tap into the dreamlike, surreal quality that made Valak so intimidating in The Conjuring 2. There are also a handful of memorable visual moments that can really burn some disturbing imagery into your head. And to the film's credit, it does try to expand The Conjuring's mythos in a way that's meaningful and not just tacked on. And now, the bad stuff. For all its atmosphere, The Nun struggles with storytelling, in my opinion. A lot of scenes exist purely to provide a jump scare rather than build tension or develop a character. The tone can also swing wildly. It wants to be an oppressive, gothic-like nightmare, then it throws in comic relief through Frenchie, who's likable, but often breaks the immersion that the movie's trying so hard to build. The final act pushes into spectacle territory, losing the quiet eeriness that the first half accomplished. The lore explanation is interesting, but the execution feels rushed and overly cinematic rather than scary. The Nun is visually gorgeous and atmospherically rich, but narratively shallow. I'm giving it a 2.75 out of 5. Not a bad experience, just a undercooked one. Fans of the franchise will find moments to enjoy, but it doesn't reach the heights of the better Conjuring entries. If what I remember most from your horror movie is setting and atmosphere, it's kind of saying something. But hey, that's just me. What did you think of The Nun? Let me know down in the comments, let's talk about this. If you're new here, welcome. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It would really help this brand new channel grow. I'd really appreciate it. Alright, there's my spoiler-free take. If you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. Come on back and we can have some more fun with this. But there's your warning. As mentioned previously, I have to praise the atmosphere here. The movie does an amazing job immersing us in this small village, the path leading to the castle, and the castle itself. As stated earlier, that is exactly what stuck with me after seeing this movie in theaters. I had forgotten most of the scares and that ending, and actually tricked myself into thinking I enjoyed this movie more than I actually did. Speaking of scares, there are a few fun ones in the first half of this movie. Frenchie in the graveyard scene is a good one. Father Burke being mysteriously buried alive, the first encounter with that eerie nun sitting back in the chair, and even that first moment where Valak is sneaking up on that nun in the window, pretty terrifying. Having said that though, what we primarily get here is your typical jump scares. We get some origins here on Valak, as expected. A demon accidentally unleashed by a duke dabbling in the occult, and later sealed with Christian relics. It fits into the Conjuring lore. The idea that the Abbey's nuns were already dead and Irene has been interacting with them is one of the more interesting twists. It reframes the order as more of a spiritual defense line than a physical one. However, one of the more confusing reveals to me was that Valak requires a living human to possess, and this is what led Sister Victoria to commit suicide in the first scene. But Valak drugged that other nun who gave Victoria the key back into the darkness, and I wonder why Valak just didn't possess her. Did it fear that Victoria alone could endlessly pray this evil away forever? Anyways, the climax of the film really loses me. I know I shouldn't be watching these movies looking for any kind of realism, but I don't see how some of the things happened here. I mean, literally, I don't see how some of the things happened here, and it bothers me. How did Frenchie get some of that blood of Christ on his fingers to smear on Irene's face so quickly? When did Irene get some of the blood in her mouth to spit on Valak? Did she do that underwater while literally drowning without spilling it out in the water? Also, what was with that trend of the vertically long open mouth scream that just sends people flying off into the distance? It happens in so many movies and it just feels like such a cop-out, and no one ever gets as hurt as they should from that. Ultimately, the film feels like it bit off a bit more than it could effectively chew, and the ending feels more like a setup for future films than a satisfying resolution to this one. I don't hate rewatching this movie, but it's gonna be a long time before I rewatch it again. It took me 4 nights to finish this thing, and the first night I watched over an hour of it. I literally kept falling asleep in the final act of this film on nights 2 and 3, and when I finally finished it on night 4, I felt like I truly accomplished something. Alright, that's all I got. Again, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. You can check out all my other Conjuring reviews right up here. And remember, if you've got the actual blood of Christ on hand, always keep a little bit in your mouth. I guess. See you guys next time.